Major Gregory Keene resumes the story from a room of police headquarters in Phillip Street.
It's 13 hours since I left Inspector Murray's house early this morning, and the men in his radio car took us into the Cunningham Towers by the garage ramp. Cuts, Sherry, and myself. It's 8.5 hours since I left Sherry's apartment and came here to Phillip Street Police Headquarters. And for 8 of those hours, I've been arguing my case in front of Murray and 5 very wise, very hard, very knowledgeable officers of the Sydney Police. I've had to make 3 main points. 1, that despite my fingerprints and the perfect frame-up Huberman hang around my neck, I'm not Sammy Rice. 2, that Huberman and Carlotta Magnani are organizing a huge criminal conspiracy called the NightShade Ring. And 3, there has to be a report in tomorrow morning's papers about a speedboat being found on the Hawkesbury with 3 bodies in it. Mine, Sherry's, and another so far unidentified. Well, I've done my best. I can't tell what these fellows around the table are thinking. They learned not to give anything away many, many years ago. Inspector Murray's carrying the ball at the moment, and I'm glad there's one of them on my side. Superintendent Roberts certainly isn't.
Here's the way I see it, Tim. We've got a perfect case against this man. We've got his fingerprints filed as Sammy Rice. We've got the gun he shot Charlie Brett with. We've seen and talked to a fellow calling himself Major Keene. And we've examined this Keene's papers. We've proved beyond any possible shadow of doubt that he is Sammy Rice. And he did shoot Brett. But at the same time, I personally believe what he's been telling us since 10 o'clock this morning.
Get a radio teletype off. Get MI5 in London without it going through Huberman. Tell them to radio us a picture of Gregory Keene.
Well, why the devil couldn't you have done that 10 days ago?
Make another signal to Scotland Yard. Tell them we want the fingerprints of the man they have down as Sammy Rice.
And that, too.
Look, old chap, when we have a case thrown up as neatly as yours, we don't pester people on the other side of the world. Get that idea once and for all.
All right. But what about this story I want planted in the newspapers? Inspector Murray here is satisfied.
But I won't be till we hear from London. Not while my name's Roberts and I'm superintendent of the CIB.
But you won't get an answer from London for 5 or 6 hours. By that time, man, it'll be too late. We can't afford to lose this opportunity. It won't come again.
You're setting us quite a problem. Elliot, wait outside with this fellow, will you? We'll call you.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you do, Roberts, make up your mind quickly.
Just wait outside, will you?
Okay.
Well, what about it, Super? What do you think?
I think we'd better wait till we get that dope from London.
But what Keene says is so. We can't afford to wait. Why don't we plant this story for him? If London says he's Sammy Rice, well, there's not much harm done. All we have to do is let the story die. But this NightShade business is bigger than we thought. We can't get away from it.
No, I'm with you there.
That's why I say we should let Keene have his head and go after them undercover.
If he is Keene.
He's snarling at us for not checking with London in the first place, isn't he? He walked in here this morning of his own accord. There's a speedboat in 5 feet of water exactly where he said it'd be, shot full of bullet holes. He told us he was beaten up by Stella Wilson and Artie Fegan, and that Dr. Eugene Collins told us he fixed him up in the Reed girl's apartment. Too much of it comes together in a perfect fit.
What I can't accept are his tales about Felix Huberman.
Neither could I. But when you come right down to it, who else could run such a thing but Huberman? Who else could get the types into the country they need? The fellows who'll do the sort of things you have to do to make an extortion racket work.
Okay, suppose it's true. How do we get at Huberman? Or this Magnani woman? Confound it, Murray, it's too much to accept. Carlotta Magnani is a wealthy, well-born gentlewoman right in the public eye. You can see her advice, regal receptions, and all that sort of thing. It's altogether too much to swallow.
The idea of somebody organizing crime in this country on the American pattern is a lot to swallow. But someone is.
Well, we'll have to come to a decision. What are we going to do now, right now?
Give the newspapers the story. We've everything to gain and nothing to lose.
The rest of you fellows, what do you say? Do you agree with Murray?
Yes, nothing to lose.
All right, then. Here we go. But by jingo, Murray, if you've talked us into this and we get the wrong dope from London, I wouldn't like to be in your boots. Not me.
That's the risk I'll take. Right. Let's have Keene back in here. He can set down the story he wants in print. It ought to get decent headlines, too, if I'm any judge.
So at last we can breathe freely again. Gregory Keene is dead.
Here, read it yourself. I told you Mike Gusick couldn't miss with that miser of his.
Read it for me, Felix.
It will be a pleasure. They've given it a two-column spread on page 1. 3 found dead on Hawkesbury. The subhead, mysterious river shooting. Police late yesterday recovered 3 bodies from a bullet-riddled speedboat beached on the river's south bank between Chapel Head and Castle Crag. One of the bodies has been identified as that of Samuel James Rice, 34, who recently escaped from custody in a multiple crash on the Harbour Bridge. Rice was under arrest for the murder of Charles Brett on November the 14th. The bodies of a young woman and a second man have not yet been identified. Senior police officers expect early developments and arrest within the next few days. Yeah.
Go on.
Residents living near the Hawkesbury state that in the early hours of yesterday morning, shots were heard on or near the river. One detective said it was believed a machine gun had been fired, as the close grouping of bullet holes in the speedboat could be accounted for in no other way.
Who is in charge of the inquiries?
Just a minute. Here we are. Detective Inspector Henry Murray, C.I.B.
Well, the affair could not have arranged itself better. You'll be able to get all the details you want from him yourself.
I might even be able to arrange to get a quick glimpse of the bodies in the morgue. I'd like to know who that third chap turns out to be.
No, possibly some friend of Sherry Reed's. Keene was quite alone here, we know that.
I'll find out.
Take care not to show too much interest. You have done well, Felix. We could not be connected with the incident in 100 years. What are our next moves to tie the loose threads?
We press on with Operation Barnes. Barnes leaves the country as Keene, disappears on his way from Singapore to Hong Kong on the trail of Bruno Kesselring. That's the last we'll ever hear of MI5 prying into the NightShade ring.
What if I try to clear up the disappearance of Gregory Keene?
They naturally will, but they'll take up the trail in Singapore. They'll always assume that Keene was alive when he left Singapore for Hong Kong. That's the beauty of our arrangement.
And what happens to Nicky Barnes when he gets back to Sydney?
I suggest you ask him here to dinner on the night of his arrival. We'll send Gusick to meet him. You, don't suggest we should leave Nicky alive, do you, Carlotta?
Poor Nicky. Such a nice-looking young man. Isn't it a pity, Felix?
No, that's frightful. But when the time comes, he can console himself with the thought that it was all in a good cause. With Keene gone, with Kesselring's trail leading from Singapore and not from Sydney, the Barnes out of the way and MI5 off our necks, there's nothing to stop us. We're going to own this city, Carlotta. We're going to hold it tight in our clenched fists, like that. With you and I in the background unsuspected, getting stronger and stronger as every month goes by. Now that Gregory Keene is dead.
Good show, Murray. Without you, I'd never have pulled it off.
I left them at Phillip Street, poring over the radio pictograms of you and Sammy Rice's fingerprints.
Red in the face?
Kind of. What are our moves, Keene?
Our moves?
I'm detached for special duty to work with you. You're the skipper.
Well, things are looking up. First of all, can Sherry Reed, Tom Cutts, and myself go on living here in the Cunningham Towers?
Providing you show no lights at night and never answer the phone.
What about our comings and goings?
Take ordinary precautions and you'll be as safe as a house. Huberman thinks the 3 of you are dead. He won't be interested any more in the penthouse at the top of Cunningham Towers.
Yes, but does he think we're dead?
Yes, I've been busy. There's no tap on Evelyn Channel's phone anymore. Huberman told the post office to take it off 3 hours ago.
You know, it's amazing how that chap can contrive things out in the open.
Well, of course he can. He's chief of one of the security bureaus. They can tap any phone they like, and they don't have to give an account of themselves.
But there's still not a charge of any description you can lay against Huberman or Carlotta Magnani.
All I want to know is our main line of attack.
Well, with me out of the way, they'll come more into the open. They get on with their expansion. They won't be satisfied taking insurance premiums from illegal bookmakers, and that's where we come in.
But how?
We've already got one man inside the ring, Nick Barnes, and we can keep in contact with him through Evelyn Channel. But that's not all.
They're recruiting their goon squads from new arrivals exclusively. Criminals on whom we've no records. We're never going to get another man in among them.
But we are.
I'm trying to tell you, Keen, this gang won't look at any of our local hoodlums. Won't touch them with a 40-foot pole.
This chap is not a local hoodlum. He's a new arrival. And you can soon make him a criminal you've no record on.
All right. Who is he, and where is he?
He's a fellow the NightShade ring don't know and never heard of. There he is, over there on the window seat. Tom Cutts. For the first time in this affair, we're safe. We're safe because they think they've destroyed us. But very soon now, when we've laid our mines all random, when we've evidence on Huberman and Carlotta they can't buy or terrorize or murder their way out of, then we'll strike. And when we've pulled the NightShade ring to pieces, perhaps then we'll learn what they did with Bruno Kesselring. And why.
Nick Barnes is ordered to Singapore in the next chapter of this story of intrigue, Deadly Nightshade.